to BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is our countdown to two-a-days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team and our August 17th preseason football preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we are talking about the Dublin Lions.
Yeah, and I think that the Dublin Lions this year are one of the more interesting teams that we're going to have, just in terms of the fact that last year they had a really strong season in Coach Greg Hardcastle's first year. He was really set up for a lot of success, had a very experienced team, and they really took advantage of it last year, going 3 rounds deep. This year it's going to be a little different. They lost 18 of the 30 lettermen from last year's team, only returned 4 offensive and 3 different defensive starters. So a lot of young guys in positions in big positions this year. The one upside is they do have a really good quarterback back in Chris Teaton, have a really good receiver back in Dalen Raspberry, have a couple of offensive linemen, defensive lineman types that are going to be nice players for him. But they do have a lot of holes to fill, so it's going to be a lot of questions to answer for Coach Hardcastle this season.
There's a lot of questions. They've lost a lot of their skill personnel. They had a really good core of receivers last year, and Raspberry is the only one from that group that comes back. He's going to be one of the better wide receivers in the big country. But this year it's going to be a different story with a bunch of youngsters filling the other vacancies. Raspberry is going to be basically blanketed. I would expect the opposing defenses to really, focus on him and try to take him out of the game as much as possible. So it's going to be important for Dublin to find additional targets, additional threats. And if they can, then they have a shot at some success this year. Offensive line is going to be nearly completely rebuilt. It's going to be smaller than last year, and losing Eduardo Hernandez, who died tragically in the off season, it further hurts. He was, a quality offensive lineman. Losing him hurts a great deal. So there's a lot of questions surrounding this team. They had a 6-4 JV last year, so the youngsters that they're bringing up have won ball games, have experience winning. That should help, but they're still going to have to prove themselves on Friday night. There's a ton of question marks.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned a big one. Obviously, Raspberry is a really special kid. 6'3", 185, good speed, a very good athlete. I mean, he's going to find. I think he's going to be a tough cover. But like you said, if they can't find other guys to get the ball to, that could be an issue. I think they've got some juniors that are going to be really exciting to see how those guys kind of step in. Because like you said, they lost a couple of really good receivers in Christian Ramirez, Cooper Hubble. But they've got a couple of juniors that I'm kind of excited to see what they bring to the table. When you talk about an Aiden Hernandez and an Elijah Gonzalez, a couple of kids who I think they're pretty excited about over there. And then at the running back position, another junior, a guy that I'm excited to just kind of see how he steps into that role is Cameron Patton, who got a little bit of experience last year and experienced a little bit of success as kind of both a rusher and a receiver last year. So they've got some guys, and they really like that junior class. There are a lot of talent in it. But it is, in a lot of these cases, it's guys who've never done it before at that level. So we're just going to have to kind of see how they do and step in there.
They might be a year away. This might be a rebuilding year. We'll see. It's difficult for a bunch of juniors to all step up and just, form a cohesive unit on Friday night. It's difficult. But we should mention the fact that Chris Teaton is one of the best, quarterbacks in the area. They've got the field general out there. He threw for more than 4,000 yards last year and 42 scores. Granted, he had, quite a bit of yak yards because they had a lot of speed out there, but they've got youngsters with speed again. And if he starts developing targets all over the field like he did last year, they may surprise us.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the things I was going to mention is with a young team, it's a good place to start is having a veteran field general. And Chris Teaton's definitely that, a kid who's in his 3rd year as starter and had a monster year last year, threw for over 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, really, really came into his own. And I'd expect him to take another step forward this year if they can find those receiving weapons. But it's going to be some question marks, certainly. We talk a lot about the offense, but their defense is going to have some questions to answer as well. So only 3 starters back on that side of the ball. So Coach Hardcastle is going to have to, fill some holes with some young kids, and we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. But
they have lost 18 seniors.
Yeah,
you lose 18 seniors at the 3AD2 level, man, that creates a lot of voids out there. But there is some young talent, so we'll just have to be patient with them.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm kind of excited to see is this started with Bob Cervetto, obviously continued with Hardcastle. They've been building this program for a while now. So these young kids that are coming up to the program are kids that have all kind of experienced success. You mentioned the 6-4 JV team. So it's not a bare cupboard, but it will be a lot of young faces. So we'll just have to see, particularly against the schedule that is going to be very competitive. And we'll start with the non-district. They open at Fort Worth Christian on August 26th. Follow that with a home game against Albany. That's kind of become a game they play every year, it seems like. Then they go to Anson, host Brady, and then go to Florence. So some tough games there on that non-district slate.
Yeah, it's a challenging slate. Fort Worth Christian's an independent school, and that's a toughie to face. Of course, we know about Albany. And then that Brady game, Brady's going to be pretty stout. So that's a challenging non-district portion. Of course, they're idle on September the 30th. The open district play at Merkel on October 7th. They host Millsap on the 14th. They travel to Comanche, their arch rival, on the 21st. Then they go to Eastland on the 28th, and they host Jacksboro on the 4th. If this is a rebuilding year for Dublin, that means maybe shooting for the 4 seed in a very tough district. I would expect the 4 seed to be a very competitive. I mean, the competition for that 4 seed will be stiff. Dublin will be in the mix there, I believe, but that makes those games with Merkel and Comanche probably the most important on the schedule, and they're both on the road.
Yeah, those are obviously big games. But one thing that I think is worth pointing out in this district, and we talked about it yesterday with Comanche, this is a super competitive district from top to bottom. Six teams, but there is not a whole lot separating those 6 teams. So I think you're going to get a lot of games this year like we did last year, where they're really kind of 50-50 games. Whoever executes better that night will win them. So I think the safe play is probably to put Dublin in that, that 4th spot, if they're shooting for 3rd or 4th spot. But this is one where every game could go either way. So that makes it a really fun district. But we'll find out a lot about this Dublin team in that first week of district at Merkel, I think.
And with that, it's just about time to wrap up tonight's edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Day series, the Dublin Lions. But before we do that, we want to remind you, we've got 3 separate subscription packages here at bigcountrypreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where we knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we've got an annual 12-month subscription where we knock that price down to $3 a month, $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage. And please note that even though we're going through a high inflationary period right now in this country, we have kept the same prices that we've had since back in 2018.
We'd also like to remind you, before we close out this episode of our Countdown series, to be on the lookout once again for that August 17th preseason football preview. There'll just be a ton of football coverage there. You will not want to miss that. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Day series, and make sure you join us again tomorrow when we will be talking about the Eastland Mavericks here at bigcountrypreps.com.